Hello.
Hi, Satish.
Hi.
Satish will wait for a couple of minutes for people to join and then we can start.
We'll be back here in 1 minute in that case. Okay.
Sure. No problem.
I am back whenever you're ready.
Yeah, sure.
Recording in progress.
Was there any session in the past on anything around this, people?
One second. Yeah, so we have had sessions on fundraising, on revenue generation and scaling and things like that. But this is one of its kind. Yeah.
Cool, thanks.
We can start at 11:05, Satish. Wait for the next 2 minutes.
Sure. How many are we expecting?
We're expecting 10 founders.
Okay.
We already have 5, but we can start at 11:05. So how do you want to take the Q&A?
Yeah, it's going to be no slide meeting.
Okay. Okay. We'll start.
Sure. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Is it going to be only me on camera and others are on audio mode?
I can ask the others to put on the camera as well.
Yeah, sure.
I've given them the permission. Hi, everyone. You can actually put on your video if you can. And you can also unmute yourself if you want to ask any questions to Satish. I think it is going to be you, Satish.
So I see the idea of this conversation, because I also have a vague idea on the 2-3 areas to be covered. So I would like each of you to come speak up on what you are expecting and what you want to learn from this, or what possible conversation that you wanted to have. And I think I wanted to keep it as interactive as possible. I have 0 slides. And yeah, so I feel that will be the most useful thing that I can do. I mean, whoever wants to go first. They can unmute themselves, right?
Yeah, they can. Yes.
Hi, Satish. This is Anchal. I'm sorry. I'm just figuring out how to switch on the camera. But
No problem.
so,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. So if I'm not mistaken, today's is on hiring, right?
Yeah, I was given 3 different areas of restructuring, culture building, and hiring. Yeah.
Nice. That's a very interesting topic. Sometimes we feel it's vague or anything, and especially in a startup, what a culture would be like, how to build on. But I think it's a very good topic that probably, and should be open for a lot of discussion.
Sure. So what is that you have in mind when you think of it? And if you can give me a little bit of introduction about you and.
Absolutely. I run a small FMCG company. The brand is Snackery, and under Snackery, we sell multi-grain snacks, primarily made out of millets, across categories for all age groups. That's what we do. Okay. And we are there in around 800 to 1,000 retail outlets across Mumbai, Pune, and Hyderabad, looking to expand further. I have a team of 12, 7 in sales, and around 5 in my backend. Hiring, if I would take one topic, and I would request you to please help us out. How a lot of people don't want to join startups. That is one, because there's an uncertainty. Company hai, nahi hai, paise milenge, time pe nahi milenge, And second is that we can't afford corporate level salaries. Sometimes we miss out on a talent pool which we deserve, but we miss out obviously because the person who's joining, dekho usko bhi ghar chalana hai.
Yeah.
So, though we want to hire the best, we do not get what so we can be as smart to look out for smarter people under us, but it's very tough. How do I become a magnet for talent is my question. How do I attract talent? How do I say that, come and join me in this journey, which, will take us further up? That's my question. How do I help myself become a magnet for talent?
Sure. Awesome. Anything else?
Arey Satish ji, there'll be a lot more. I'm sure there are more.
Okay, we'll keep here. Maybe we'll ask others.
Yes.
Other questions specifically.
Basically hiring, retaining. How do I, get a good talent pool? Corporate salaries hum de nahi sakte. So ESOPs ke through jayenge. How do we look for smart people? Then delegation hai. How do we get work done? These are very small basic things, but startups sometimes do need a lot of help in this field.
Absolutely. This is exactly what I do day in and day out in my life. So I'll definitely talk about it. Yeah. Others?
Anyone else would like to go? Vrinda, Jayashri?
Hi, Satish. This is Shilpa here.
Hey, Shilpa.
Yeah. So there is this dilemma that we have all the time with, the strengths which should complement us for hiring or taking a co-founder. So I have this doubt this dilemma in terms of should it be a co-founder for the, the complementing strengths, or should it be somebody that we hire? Also is one question that we have. So my what I have is that I need a tech somebody with specialization in technology. That is something which I lack. So I've been in this dilemma and specifically on this part of it.
Sure. Yeah, it is. I think there are some fun facts I can share too, because
my
co-founder and CEO happened to be Vani, who was happened to be a close friend too, right? So yeah, we'll talk about some fun fact too. But yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm Jayashri.
Yeah.
And so So I have a employee engagement startup.
Mhm.
So the thing is taking on what Shilpa said. I think the thing is to find, how do we find a co-founder? I know I already have a co-founder, but
Okay.
then I would like to bring on someone on board because we want to have somebody who brings in the sales and marketing, that type of expertise. And how do I bring that? Because the challenge has been is like, okay, you get someone with a sales background and then you give them a good title and give them a basic salary plus obviously equity, because we can't afford, as said,
Mhm.
we can't afford the corporate salaries, because especially for this you need to have a sales expertise in HR domain and all that.
Yeah.
But then again, you bring them some on board somebody, and then again, challenge is retaining them. So there will be another competitor who's I'm a bootstrap, another competitor who's funded will come and grab the same person for a like triple X or 4 times the salary, and then they would go. So
Yeah.
how do you get that person who will be vested in your journey? Even
Yeah.
while we give them the vesting options, how can that person be part of our journey? How do we find that right talent to be part of it? That's
Interesting. Got it.
I have one more question also.
Okay, maybe we'll go one by one. I think what we will do, I'll probably take a little bit of time about addressing each of this from the first part of being the talent magnet. Shilpa will come to your question after that. Yeah. So I think maybe I think all of this is best to share real life examples, right? So it is hardest, like how you mentioned, to truly find the co-founder who, especially, I think there was a point about should it be a friend versus complementary skills person, especially when you wanted to hire like totally opposite of skill. Let's say somebody who's building a non-tech startup, you wanted to bring a technology founder, for example, right? And it's not honestly, I'm a very strong believer that this also has to happen. It's while you can search for it, etc., from a recruitment process or looking to hire a person point, but it's truly stating out personal beliefs. I think this is within when you're looking for a co-founder, or whether you're looking to hire people in your team. I think one of the first thing that I would strongly recommend all of you to do is you could call it as manifesto, you could call it your personal belief system, so you call it as culture code. Actually, the title doesn't matter or what you call for that, but what's very, very important is to truly write down that one pager of what's your beliefs around people, right? And see, there are, like, for example, my past employer was X to 10X. I was actually the first employee with them, and we've developed.
Satish, are you there?
We can't hear you, Satish.
I think he got dropped.
Yeah, no worries. We'll join back then.
So just a little bit out of context, I hope that everyone has booked their GTM strategy calls with Jay.
yeah.
Okay, great, cool.
I don't think you have enabled the video, Swati. It's not showing up.
1 second. It does show here that participants can put on the video.
Every time it used to, but right now I don't know, that feature is not coming, Swati.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I think we'll figure out. Okay, I think I figured it out. It's in the settings on the settings after general. There is video. I think that should be helping.
Sure. And also, I'm giving a quick call to Satish. 1 second.
Do we have a group, a WhatsApp group made of all those who are there in this accelerator program?
No.
So Swati, let's have that WhatsApp group, please, so that we get to know each other. And a lot of contacts in startups really help each other.
Yeah, actually, I think the startup with employee engagement is also very important. I could like to connect to you.
Hey,
Absolutely.
yeah, Shilpa, Sana, I totally agree. So the thing is, most of them have requested to not go ahead with WhatsApp, but at least for the ones who are okay with it, I can make a group out of it.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'll do that. Sure.
Swati,
I'm
I'm
okay with.
Okay, cool.
Swati Viraji
Yeah.
here. I'm sorry. I missed the last session. Maybe that is where I lost the link. What is it about scheduling a session with?
So no, yeah. So Thursday, I'm scheduling a session for the ScaleX platform. So where we'll be uploading all the recordings of the sessions, whatever we have conducted so far. So I request you all to be available Thursday 3 p.m. So that you'll understand how to go about the platform, how to access the recordings and everything. Once you go through the recordings, in case if you have any questions, you can always write back to me. I can have the speakers answer your questions.
Sure, but what about this GTM call with Jay? I missed that somehow. It's not in my mail as well.
So I sent a one-on-one link. It's a Calendly link where you can book a slot with Jay for a 30 minutes call with him. If you have not received it, let me resend it to you again.
Okay, thank you, Swati.
Yeah. What I can do is, meanwhile, I can just post it here in the chat section.
Yeah, that will be helpful.
Satish is joining us in the next 1 minute. Oh, he's here. Hi, Satish, can you hear us? Viraji, I've put the link for Calendly
Yes,
link.
Swati. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Next week, we will be starting one-on-one calls on your pitch decks, right? So I request you all to book those as well in advance so that you can have like 2 rounds of calls with the team.
Hello, can you hear me, Swati?
Yes, loud and clear, Satish.
So I'm sorry about that. I think the network got disconnected. So I'm not sure where I kind of got disconnected, but I was talking about truly the need of each of you writing down your personal beliefs about especially from a people point, right? And that should be the starting point even before you go start. What could, for example, what could that personal beliefs look like, right? I was taking the example.
Satish, you're breaking up actually.
Previous
Satish, can you hear us?
example
Satish, we can't
with
hear you.
what we believe there is.
Satish, can you hear us?
Startup will change the
Satish
world and
cannot
we
hear
won't
us.
be able
The
to
message
change
says
the world.
Satish is
And that's
connected
why.
to audio and cannot hear you yet. So he is not able to hear us.
Okay. Is it, yeah, I can hear loud and clear. Is it better?
We can hardly hear you. Yeah, okay. I'm really sorry for this, everyone. He's joining
I'm sorry about this, and my internet got disconnected, so I joined meanwhile from the phone. I think that it wasn't effective. So can you hear now, loud and clear? Is it?
Yeah, all clear. Please, yes.
So what I was talking about is to truly have that belief system written down, because what is very, very important when you bring the co-founder is we often think it's about the complementary skill. Honestly, I'll give you my own example. I've been in the HR space for 14, 15 years before I started my entrepreneurship journey. And in my 15 years, I never done recruiting at all in my life, right? Of other than hiring for my own team. But the startup that I built today is in recruiting space, right? So it is not necessary about what experience that I bring in, etc. But it's about having aligned with your co-founder about, hey, from a personal belief system, for example, around people, for example, around, hey, is this even necessary to build? Do we really believe in building this business, right? So, and having those question answers and clearly, writing it down is super important. I think there are a bunch of founders that I also do advisory role with a couple of startups, and I think everybody who has done it on day one, I think two of them today have raised their Series A, and our teams of about, one of them is about 200 people, another one is about 70 people. It has been really, really effective when they started that journey that way of writing down. It's not just limited to co-founders, especially the minus ones that you hire, right? I mean, whether you call them as leaders or not, but in the early days of even the people who directly work with you, etc. I think it's important for them to know that, hey, this is your belief system and this is why you're building this. Why are you building this business? The why behind the business, I think that has to be loud and clear with people, right? Now, when you, let's say that you start talking to somebody, right? When you share this one pager or whatever of your belief and with that person, I think it's the first checklist for you to see how does the person respond and come back with questions to you. Especially if someone, trust me, if somebody comes and tell you, hey, I'm completely aligned, I like all of this, let's start. I would say that the person has not deeply thought enough to ask you questions there. Yeah. And that's something that you should really be. And how many questions have you faced with that value systems? And it's okay to be not completely aligned, but at a core belief system, do you align about your both personal belief systems and why you're doing that business, right? I think this is truly the starting point for you to have that journey together, because there's a lot of difference between hiring an early employee versus having a co-founder, right? Because this is the place that you go end of the day. I think from sharing everything that happened in the day, bending out, being vulnerable to all that happens with your co-founder, right? I can't imagine, for example, both Anupam and Vani, who's my co-founders, not being around in my journey of building Spotable, because I would have gone mad, insanely mad, especially in a market scenario like current or in the last couple of years, right? It is only possible. So, and it's important that the belief systems are aligned. They understand why you're building what you're building. And then you need to completely plunge into that, right? It's not something that you sign up as an employee to come in. So I think that's a bit that I can really share about the co-founder. There is no formula, honestly, to tell you. Unfortunately, I can give a script answer saying that here are the 2-3 things that you can follow. But I think conversations in multiple times, both from business, personal belief, then get into the competency aspect, saying that, hey, this is for, let's say that I want to bring a tech co-founder. When we were bringing Anupam on board, it was the same conversation with Anupam. We had to, because he comes from an HR tech background, a data scientist, product manager, been in that space for a decade. So when we are bringing him on board, we've had that conversation. Hey, we are this, right? Vani, for example, hey, I am, as a founder and personality, this is what I am. And I've been honest about him. Okay, this is what I am, and this is how we complement between. For example, Vani is completely unorganized when it comes to doing things in the company, but extremely visionary in terms of doing the business to all of that, right? So when it comes to me, the strength is to truly execute, and from an operating role. And also I understand how building organization, what it takes to build, especially from a people point, right? So that's how we were extremely complementary. And I don't know ABCD of recruiting, and she has only done that for 17, 18 years, right? Then we are talking to a data scientist, product manager to bring him on board. And the first thing that we have done there is both of us telling him, this is our personality and this is how we are. These are our likes and dislikes, right? Then talk to him about, hey, this is what we're looking to build, and it's a massive business, and globally these are the size of the business to all of that, and this is our aspiration, these are the timeline at which we will do different things. And what is, and it's a completely technology driven platform, and in the core of this business is about what Anupam builds. So it was so important to him to onboard and give him the entire perspective. Then we told him, okay, now you take time, think over it, 10, 15 days, however number of days that you want to take. But this is something that you will plunge into with, doing this. And it's not that he's the first person that we met and we kind of onboarded him as a co-founder. We did meet a couple of more people, but even were intuitively, we felt that, hey, from a value system point, it's kind of not going to match, because we are looking for a long-term game versus someone talking to us about a 2-year exit to 3-year exit, etc. I think it didn't make sense for us to be bringing somebody like that on board. And even when we had questions, even in a slightest of order, we said, hey, we wouldn't want to go ahead with the conversation further. I think for a founder, it's a very intuitive decision. And when you're doing that, when in question mark, I strongly suggest you don't bring and don't put time pressure to it, saying that, hey, I want somebody tomorrow, day after, or in 1 month. I think let it happen from a long-term org building journey. It would really, really help if you don't put pressure yourself on the timelines. And then one of the best place to do this is your first degree network, and people whom you get referred by them should be, I would say that's the best source to.
Satish, are you there?
Dropped off.
I called him up again. I'm really sorry for this. Satish, if you want to put off your video and want to save the bandwidth, I think that is fine.
Okay.
No, Satish, no. Can you speak again? Because
Recording in progress.
Okay, are there any follow-up question? I don't know what all of you heard, and I'm really sorry. This hasn't happened to me at all in this level internet disturbance. Yeah.
No problem. So do we have questions? Any questions for Satish?
I mean, specifically on the co-founder part, I'll come back to the question on the talent, being the talent magnet, and how do you create a brand that is attractive. But especially on the co-founder related part, are there any questions that you have?
Do you want to give us some tips to look forward in terms of how we can find them?
I think it is always networking, first degree connect, meet as many people as possible. I have a friend who today, interestingly, another woman founder who's building an IoT device, for example. She's met some, I think yesterday she was talking to me and said, Satish, I met 28 people and I have not, found my co-founder yet, right? So, and it's okay. And it's okay to meet as many people as possible, because that's your learning journey of those conversations. That's your learning journey to understand the kind of people available and who is really will take the plunge to get into. So for example, what this individual, she has done it is she is, for example, what she needed, she's a non-tech person and she's need a tech co-founder, for example, right? And it's a slightly complex product, I would say, from a technology point. So instead of waiting for that tech co-founder to come on board and start work, she's actually gotten a senior leader who is okay to be an employee, first started as a consultant, then now as an employee. And through that individual, she's getting that product developed by an external, tech development agency kind of a place, right? So that's the way she's solving, while she's okay to wait for that right person to be identified. So the tips is networking, look for it, seek help from all your first degree connect. There is absolutely no other way to solve it. Like if you have 10 friends, keep reminding and telling them about that you need this person and you need the help.
Thank you, Satish.
And I think there are forums. I'll try and find out. I'll probably share it with Swati later. There are a couple of places that you could find, profiles of only ex-founders, for example, if they're ready for another journey again. And those could be another medium at which you could look at reaching out to people.
Okay.
I'll find the name and share it with Swati later.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
And then now coming back to the other question about the talent magnet, I'll give you a very, very recent example on this, right? I think so there is a Series A stage. I know some of you mentioned about I think Jayshree, right, of HR tech company. Interestingly, this is also an HR tech company, and wanted to hire a director of growth, a director of sales. The large part of the business is in US. He met 20 people each for both the roles, yeah, and I was curious because typically in spottable context, we close these roles in about 7-8 profiles at that senior level. And it was unusual for us to see 20 people. And this founder happened to be a friend also. So, and I was curious, then I went into talking to all these 20 candidates. Yeah. I effectively, between Vani and me, we spoke to 20 people to really find out, because it was more than business. It was more about helping a friend for us, right? So, when we gone into depth of it, right, what we understood is the way in which the interview was conducted, the way in which the whole process went, including some places not joining on time. Every candidate unanimously said, hey, I don't think he's clear what he wants, right? And then some of the behavioral things, small things, but it's as a person, he's not that, but he came across as a founder in the whole conversation of it. So what I'm trying to tell you is your brand at whatever may be the stage of the business is at this stage, at a very early stage, is you how you represent, how you lead conversation with everybody who comes for interview, whether they get selected or rejected, how you close communication loop is your brand. Yeah. And trust me, that networking impact on whether you are an FMCG, retail to any of the sectors. The one person who's coming to the interview must talk about the interview experience to 5 other people outside. Trust me, that's the best way to, attract talent. This, now we had to go back in close loop with this individual, and it was not an easy conversation, especially when you're a friend sitting on the other side, right? To tell the feedback and, hey, this is how you change. These are the feedbacks from candidates to, of course, we were able to convert, 1% from both the roles from the 20. In fact, we also had backup. But point is, sometimes people just don't remember in thick of things to, or in the hurry to, find the best talent and, all of that. You miss on some of those nuances. So your interview experience is your best, brand that you can represent externally. And trust me, 8 out of the 10 founders that I speak to, this is especially from a series A, B, C, and above stages, or even early stages, I've seen they're missing on this foundational thing. And I would say, fix that. Let everybody come to you and speak to you. Remember that, hey, for example, Shilpa, they should remember that they met Shilpa and had a conversation. Right. So I think that's the way you build brand. Now, beyond this, right, there are many aspects of the, for example, if you're sharing that one pager with everybody who's coming, or talk to them about the one pager saying that, hey, this is my belief system, this is what we're looking at. Even if, let's say you're hiring an operation person, Shilpa, even at that place, I would say that you should share the bigger story with them. You should inspire them to say that, okay, we're building something bigger and we are solving XYZ problem from a, business point. I think while it's easy, while I say this, I'll give you parallel in our context. Today, we have a tech team of 8 people in Spottable. Okay. And in this 8 engineers are paid, I am making some declaration which I have not done in the past, probably about half of what they would get paid in the market, right? For the right reason, one of you mentioned, right? We are bootstrapped, or we've raised a fairly small amount of fund about 2 years back. And in that context of us, we can't pay them what, let's say, some of the large HR tech companies would pay today in the market, right? But staying with some of those foundational principles of having a culture code, giving that experience to everybody you go through, truly being for them in every occasions of both in work or life stages, helping them navigate through, giving them something they don't get to do outside from a work point, right? Everybody unanimously, every time we do our engagement surveys to all of that comes out, hey, what I do here from an ownership point, I won't get to do outside. What I learned from Spottable, I won't get to do outside, right? So I'll also give you another point. Like, I spent about 7.5 years with Flipkart. So when we do our engagement surveys, maybe Jayshree will relate to this. When we do our engagement surveys and when we correlated, why does Flipkart employees promote Flipkart as a brand, like employer brand? When we looked at that, right, it's an employee NPS driven methodology, which is later I conceptualized as a product in X210X, which is used by a large part of startups today. So when we looked at correlation between the promoter versus the other 45 themes that they scored on, right? The reason for them to promote Flipkart as an employer brand, salary was not in the top 5 reason. It was the 7th reason. Yeah. The typical top reasons are the quality of work, the kind of people they work with, the autonomy, freedom they have at work. A lot of this comes on the top of the list, right? And we often think that, hey, I don't have money, I cannot pay as much as them, but how do I attract talent? I think the answer lies there. People are not necessarily always motivated. Of course, there is basic necessities. I wouldn't I agree they need to run their house, no question about it. But beyond the basics, I think, especially the younger generation, they are motivated far more with other factors, the kind of people they work with, quality of work they do, how meaningful it is it broader or a bigger role than what they get to do outside? So those becomes the driving factors for somebody to be picking up role. And trust me, there may be 20% of people, but large part of the people are not driven by comp. Of course, they need their survival money, but or to take care of their family, to all of that. But beyond that, it is what the group they're part of, it is what they do that makes difference.
That's very well put, actually. That's very well put. You do come across people who are, willing to be a part of what you are doing. Why here that, you look for the intent. If the intent is good, probably then the entire other system and processes can be set.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've had, like, last year especially, we have gone through fairly difficult times as an organization to, I mean, questioning, because you know what was happening in the last quarter of last year on, especially in recruiting as an industry, right? I've had people who have been with me like 2-3 years coming across to me and asking me, Satish, it's okay for us to not get paid for next 2 months, right? And I mean, you don't believe it. It pushes the responsibility to a different level to us to ensure that we run the show. And when you have people so committed like that with you, right? And yeah, so this is and all of you have a unique opportunity because you are at a very early stage. Where does it fail? And I'll tell you another biggest plus point, okay? And I should have shared this in the beginning of the conversation. Because of the cohort, right? I think women naturally bring a lot of EQ into conversations. Okay, my best bosses were all women. Okay, and I have no, if this one is saying it, I'll say it loud and all the time I meet people, and I've said this multiple times in external forums too. I think it is because of the natural EQ they bring in conversation. I also feel that all of you are far more intuitive than people on the other side. So there's a lot of pluses for you, and plus you're an early stage of the company. So bringing or building some of this at a foundational level, I think you're at a very, very good place, I would say, to build it right at this point, right? I'll give you a very, very latest example. Why do I say this part of, right? Last week, for example, we were trying to hire a person. We are building a new business within Spottable. We were trying to hire a person. And somewhere between me and him, that conversation got stuck around, because I was from an operating role point, was heavily looking at it as, why would I pay excess? Why would I do this, etc., etc. I was trapped in the, at least for that 1-2 days, I was trapped in the spending thinking and not wanting to give extra to that individual, etc. And I was not able to solve it. And was just chatting this with Vani. I think I remember she said, can I step in and do something? I said, yeah, feel, because between us, end of the day, we want the chap on board, right? I mean, I was really, really inspired by the way that she went on to the conversation to and ask question to him saying that, hey, probably some of the foundational thing of asking, okay, what is actually the problem? Why is that is stuck here, right? And I think she like dealt with between me and her, because I was in a trap of, like, in the operating role, what I can do, what I can spend to, and how am I answerable to my 20 other employees to, etc., etc. There are too many reasons that I had, right? Versus the approach, there was very simple, honest to say that, hey, we are fine for you to say no, but the way you say no will actually make a lot of difference of our relation between us, for even to take your candidature, maybe to some of our customers, to all of that, right? I think sometime being that, relating to the other person and leading the conversation makes so much of difference. And I think, and the guy is on board today in the company. So I think that's where I say that you're at a right place, brings a lot of natural strength as individuals. I think it is about how you leverage this at this stage. You have a huge opportunity to build, great organizations, especially from a people point. And then another thing that I will actually call that out, right? I think in the whole hiring process, like I said, every candidate is your ambassador. Similarly, one of the other thing that you should be spending time clearly is on the role clarity part. One thing that we often hear from candidates, especially when they talk to early stage founders, more than 60% of candidates come back and tell us that, hey, the founders not seem to be clear about the role that they want to, hire me for. Because, and it's very important to reflect back and to think about it. I'll tell you why. Because when I was there, so I'm talking, I have made my mistakes there, right? Because we are always excited, we are always dreaming, we always wanted to do big things. And when we translate this into somebody who's sitting in front of us, right? We often have this habit of asking the person, hey, I want this, everything to be done by you, right? It could be well overwhelming for the person at the other side. So role clarity to the specifics of bullet points. And if you're able to translate and share that in the first conversation, I think people will have a lot of respect on the other side. And like I said, more than 60% of candidates come back and tell us that the founder is not clear, right? And we don't hear that from, let's say, we also work with enterprise customers, etc. And we don't hear that at all from that segment of customer, right? Or even in the late stage of startup. So I think this could be another, part that you should reflect back to see, hey, do I really bring that clarity in my conversation when I speak to somebody first time about a role? And then these things honestly makes your brand, and people will start talking, because your first 20 or a first 50 hires, you shouldn't go anywhere other than your own network or your employee network. Don't hire. Like, there are startups come to us and say that, hey, Spotable, why don't you help us hire? I am 10 people company. I want to hire another 20 people. We usually push them back and say, hey, we are expensive for you. The reason is not because we are expensive or we don't want to make money, because we would want those founders and teams to be truly hiring the next 10 or 15 people through their first degree network and through their employer referral. And that's the best way to build your initial team. I'll pause. I'll take more questions. I think I've addressed the first 3 questions.
I think Shilpa had one question. Shilpa, did you cover that question?
No. I was wanting some, questions on the ESOPs. How do we go with and all? Nothing to be brought in.
Okay, that was an additional question you wanted to ask.
Yeah, that's an additional question. Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
I also have another question.
Sure, Nehal.
So I am a young founder and I'm running an NBFC. And being in the BFSI space, I mean, I don't traditionally come across a lot of women on the board, specifically within the NBFC space.
Okay.
And I have to deal with a lot of, all my senior management within the company is also over 45 easy because of the experience that they bring in. So sometimes it becomes really hard to break that communication barrier and to get on the same page in terms of, setting the right culture or relatability factor also a lot. So how does someone like a younger boss take care or manage that nuance of handling like a large team? So now we're a team of about 25 people.
How many direct reportees you have, Nehal, in this?
I have about 4 direct reportees.
4, is it? Okay.
Including the most senior person I have under me, and then a couple of other admin people who report. So while I try to maintain a culture of less of subordinate superiority, but more of like friends, I would say, but it's there has to be a limit to certain things. So I sometimes I struggle to find where that threshold is, where I have to stop being a friend and maybe become a boss, but the age factor doesn't really help me too well with that. So that's a very common conflict in my mind on an everyday basis.
I think, see, there is often this confusion about, I've heard this from multiple people about, in a similar scenario of respect versus, how do you, respectfully challenge rather, right?
Right.
I think that's probably the right way to put it. I think, see, you will, it's very hard, honestly, Nehal, to be a good friend. I mean, in a true sense of a friend with any employee. Okay, let me first declare that. Yeah, you can be a good human being with them. Yeah, you don't necessarily need to be a good friend. Yeah, I mean, when I say that, in a true sense of friendship, of a friend is somebody whom you will go share things. A friend, somebody you will go be vulnerable with. Right? Is that even possible with your setup? Let me ask you the question. Is that even possible with this 4 people?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So let's first declare that they're not friends. Okay? Now, second part, right? I think what you believe, your fundamental beliefs, yeah, every forum that you get, repeat it. Repeat it. You may think, why am I doing it, right? For example, quite possible for you to get bored in the initial bit, but push yourself to keep repeating and saying, hey, why are we building what we're building? Especially with your core group. Okay.
Okay.
And you don't need to point it to anybody, by the way. You talk about your belief. You talk about why are you building what you're building. Okay. And how do you want to create the dent through this to the ecosystem on, because you're building for something, you want to build something, right?
Yeah.
Repeat this. Like I said, build that one pager on your belief, culture code, whatever you wanted to call it as. Okay. Because see what is culture in this early stage companies, right? Tell me, any of you can tell me what is your definition of that?
Definition of?
Like culture in your early stage of company. I mean, not just you, Nail, anybody. If you have a definition, what would that be?
See, at early stage, Satish, defining culture in a startup, it's nothing but the culture or the personality of the founders.
Brilliant.
It's the way the founders are that I feel that I have a staff of 12. Arey bhai, wo wahi karenge. When they see me doing it or the action, just the way my personality is will come down on the staff. And that will become the organizational structure.
Brilliant, brilliant. I think that's exactly, Nehal, what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. So make the culture that you believe in. Okay. Never ever allow that anyone else driving it, especially against what you believe in, right? So in this stage of the organization, what happens is, I've kept on talking about personal belief, for example. What is personal belief? Okay. In a simple way to say that, you can say that it's a conviction that you have made even some of the silliest of choices because you have that you believe in that, right? That's your conviction. Never stay away from it, right? And this is all something that you already know. I'm not talking about anything new, but what you should do from a practice point, every town hall, every meeting, every internal meeting that you do, start having this first candidate 2-3 liner. Okay. People should keep on hearing it from you, saying that why are we building what we are building? What is personal belief? And this is how we should build org. Over a period of time, if there are somebody who don't align to it, okay, trust me, they will get disturbed. Yeah, they will have conversation with you saying that, hey, you spoke about these 3 things. For example, say you spoke a lot about autonomy. Let's say you spoke a lot about collaboration. Let's say you spoke a lot about speed could be a challenge. For example, somebody who brings a lot of experience in the table, right? Biases of past experience. I think that's the biggest thing that I deal with. For example, I personally have dealt with what you're talking about, right? Because people, when they come with that 15, 20, I mean, while I went through that experience, but when people come with that experience, I often went through that challenge of, hey, this is how we have done it. Okay. I'm sure you commonly hear this, correct?
Yeah, right.
This is how we have done it. This is how I've done it. And this is the way to do it. Right?
And they'll do it very respectfully because they can't really enforce it on you. So they'll lure their way into like kind of make you believe that that's the right way to go about it. And then you're questioning your beliefs again and, kind of going through that process. But
so one of the things that always worked, right? There was a leader like this similarly in my team, and I had very, very hard time in terms of breaking that barrier. And interestingly, this individual also used to keep the next layer of team extremely close to this particular leader and never expect me as an example, right? So I said, no more team meeting without me, right? It's not that I'm breaking the line of you interacting. You please do your meetings, but I want to interact with the overall team once a week. Yeah, we're a people company, and I said it's okay. I wanted to get into conversations. I wanted to know what are their aspirations. And honestly, I never used to speak anything about work when I get into that meetings. Right? I asked them about what are your one of my favorite questions that I asked them is, hey, tell me what was your topmost learning for the week. And these are all like 3-year, 4-year experience people comes from a professional of an individual, right? I asked them this provoking question to come back to me. Then I tell them, okay, So that means there is this way of doing work, right? And if this is your learning, I mean, that means we probably are not doing it in the right way.
Right.
Some of these barriers can be broken when people below them start talking about the language of you, for example, right? I mean, these are not the first step to take, by the way. This should be the last step to take. This was not the last step to take here, right? So, effectively today I am in a place while that leader don't work with us anymore, because I tried my best to bring the person on board in our journey, but the person could never get on board. So I ended up working directly with the team, and the team is 2x more productive now, okay, than before. So and I wanted to give the fair chance to the individual for about 4 or 5 months, and then I think we mutually agreed it's kind of not working out for us, right? So I can have a one-on-one conversation separately with you, because I know the pain of doing this conversation. But trust me, keep repeating your belief, keep talking about it, and that should honestly result in some of the people getting, probably they'll take a call of leaving you, right? But trust me, that's good for you if they take a call. And the balance of them, will get more and more sink into the core beliefs and core values that you carry. To me, the productivity will be 2x or 3x after that, right? But it's okay to repeat about this in multiple forums. Absolutely. And when I say repeat, it's not just like, for example, let's say somebody below that individual shows the value system, or in a behaviorally in an example that you can call it out in a larger team meeting, right? Call it out and appreciate.
Right.
Yeah. And then keep spotting those people around the organization and keep calling it out. See, the appreciation of values is another way of building culture. Right? And this is very, very important. Most of us as founders in our day-to-day life, it's very hard for us to identify. I mean, this applies not just on Nihil, everybody who's hearing it, I think so important. For example, it doesn't come very naturally to me to do this appreciation part unless I do something, see very significant change somebody driven. What I started practicing is I have a calendar that I put on, reminder on my calendar to say that, hey, is there something that I missed in the last 2 days in the company around? Is there some call out that I need to do? Then I take time and put that on Slack and say, hey, seen this behavior, from so-and-so individual, I wanted to give a big shout out to this person.
Great, thanks for that. Thank you so much.
So Shilpa, from a ESOP point, right? I think that's your question. Do you want to do specifically ask, because of a very broad topic?
No, is it, my question was in terms of, is it important to, I mean, is it good or important, both I need to know, to have an ESOP in the initial level of a startup itself?
I think I would say, I think this is a question that I often get. Not sure if any of you have gone through my profile. I think I've done this for 15 years of my career. And I've also worked, in fact, with Let's Venture in building, I think, Swati, what is it called today as a platform? I think we used to call it as My Startup Equity. Now
It's the same.
Okay. So, and is a platform that I work with them in terms of developing, for example. So it's best to have on day one. I don't think there is a reason that you should wait for 10 people or 20 people to come on board, etc. I think it's best to have your plan in place from hello.
Okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah, day one. Secondly, the important and that part of it, I think, see, if people on the other side, let's say there is an employee who is, and then especially at a very junior, early stage of life and career, not too many people understand this, the value of ESOPs and the multiplier that it can create. Yeah. So hence it is important that we take the role of explaining them. Like I have at least 4 of them who are interns with us, actually not 4, about 8 of them who are interns with us, and 4 in tech side and 4 in non-tech side, who got converted as employee. And this is their first employment in their life, right? And I have spent time individually speaking to each one of them, taking them through very, very transparently. I also told them that it is on paper today. Until you see the money, it is not money, right? But taking them through that, telling them what ownership means. Today, I have minus founders. There are 20 full-time employees that works with us. they own more than 6% of our company. Yeah. So, and so that's for us, we are really proud, and we'll continue to increase that number, right? Especially for this set of people. And I think that's the philosophy individually each of you carry about wealth creation and how do you want to bring them on the journey. I think that should reflect in your ESOP plan. That will reflect in the quantum of pool that you have, how much you give it to people. All that is reflective of that. But my answer to you is day one, very important. And when you're looking at your next round of fundraising, etc., every investor will ask you how much is your ESOP pool. Yeah.
Thank you, Satish. That's helpful.
All right, I can take the next set of questions. Whoever wants to go.
Yeah, we haven't heard from Vrinda. Vrinda, do you have any questions?
Another question, sorry, Satish. So what is the percentage of ESOP you think that we should allocate in the initial stage?
Okay, there's no one word answer, but I'll give you the way you can approach it. Yeah. So if you have a fair sense of at least on the next 1 or 2 rounds of fundraising and what are the potential dilution that can come, okay, as a result, then let's say that I'm just putting a random number. Let's say that you put 15% of ESOP pool today to start, or let's say simplicity of math will take 10%. Okay, let's say we start with 10%. Now let's say they do raise two more rounds, right? And let's say there are first round had a say 20% dilution. That means your 10% becomes 8%, right? Now let's say that you had another 20% dilution in the round 2. Yeah. So that means your 8 now will reduce by another 1.6. Correct. So keeping this in mind, you can look at least I would say at a series A, B stage of a company, it's advisable to have somewhere between 7 to 10% of the pool. If you can kind of do reverse math on it. Let's say you are somebody who believes strongly about this and you really want each of them to own some decent amount of ownership in the company, and you expect some X amount of employees to join in the next 2 years, etc. And then you can do a math on that and then arrive at this number.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, but dilution need to be factored because once you go in the journey forward, when you have external board, etc., convincing people on some of these matters are not easy.
Agreed. Initially itself it's not so easy, I guess. Most of the investors are really against it.
Not really. I think, like for example, what we used to do in Flipkart was a very unique. I don't think any other company follows it, and it's very hard to follow also. What we used to do, we used to have a 18 months plan that we share with board. I joined in 2011 and I left in 2019. When I joined, we were 600 people. When I left, I think we were some 12,000 people, right? And I always interacted with board on this matter. So initial days where we used to do this 18 months plan, and we used to go and tell board that the next 18 months, we need so much of ESOP pool, right? Then we used to report that usage of the pool every quarter, every 3 months to the board and say that, hey, we asked for so much and this is where we stand today. And so what it helped is every time we went and asked them for additional pool or creating more pool, etc., was a very easy conversation because we used to tell them, hey, 18 months before we told you this and we utilized this and this is where we stand, right? So, and when Walmart came in as an investor in 2018 end, we still were at 11.5% of company was owned by Flipkart was owned by employees. But that's one of the examples for Indian ecosystem. You will not find many examples of about 10. Yeah.
Okay.
Nehal, Vrinda, Tanya, any other questions?
I think I'm good for now, Satish. That was really helpful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Jayashree?
I'm also good, Satish. Thanks.
Cool. Okay, I think Satish, that's about it.
Cool. All right. Thank you, everyone. And, enjoy.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Satish. Thank you so much for taking time.
Satish. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Satish.